What's up, everybody? That's right, it is that H, that E, to the A to the D, and welcome to another installment of the Wrestling Madness podcast, the 48th episode. That's right, we are literally now 2 away from the 50th episode, which will take place on March 16th. That's right, March 16th, according to my calculations and my dates, March 16th will be the 50th episode of the podcast. And then 2 to 3 weeks later, it's the 1 year anniversary as well, but I'll get to that later. Hope you had a good week. Hope you've had a good time in whatever it is you do. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the podcast. This week, I'm going to be talking NXT, Raw, Smackdown, TNA, talking about the second edition of ICW's Insane Fight Club. And yes, unfortunately, I'll be talking about Madonna again, considering what happened this week and what happened on the Insane Fight Club. Unbelievable. This thing's getting out of control now, but hey, entertainment or not, I'll talk more about that later on. But this week, or now, I'm going to kick off with NXT. That's right, NXT, 2 weeks removed from the Big Arrival pay-per-view, or show, the Big Arrival show, the NXT show itself. 2 weeks from now, we kicked off this week with Bull Dempsey versus Hideo Itami. Now, this match didn't go on long. A good match for the time they had, in my opinion. But the story of the match was more, it was more leaning towards Bull Dempsey trying to use his power to stop the quickness of Hideo. And the more Hideo tried to get back in the match and get back in and get some advantage, Bull always seemed to take control of the match using his power. He always proved to be too powerful. And then towards the end of the match, Hideo eventually got the advantage, got Bull in the corner, done a drop kick and done like a running like drop kick right in the corner like he did the first time around with Finn and with that tag team feud they had with the Ascension. Came in, like, basically kicked his head off in the corner, got him up, whipped him to the ropes, and then kicked him again. Done that running kick, which is like a version of a running knee that Bryan does, but he bounced off the ropes, running kick right in the face, and then got the pinfall 1, 2, 3. I would probably go as far as to say Hideo got a little bit lucky in that match, but hey, luck is all you need in wrestling. And Hideo took advantage of it. And I would say Hideo, out of the two, was definitely more quicker than Bull Dempsey and probably more experienced than Bull Dempsey. I might be wrong on that experience line I just did, but he was definitely more quicker of the two, and he eventually got the victory and got the 1, 2, 3. Now, that wasn't over, because celebrating the victory, he goes back up the ramp, turns to the crowd, turns to his left to the crowd and starts, cheering them and thanking them and everything, turns back round and gets a foot in his face from Tyler Breeze. That's right, Tyler Breeze out of nowhere super kicks him. And then the funny part of it was Tyler Breeze is walking down the ramp trying to get a selfie with Hideo's body in the background laid out. And as he was doing it, he looked through his selfie and realized Hideo was stood behind him. He turned round, Hideo chases him down, clotheslines him on the, he leans on the apron and then clotheslines him on the apron, and then Tyler manages to get away. Some unfinished business from the takeover show between these two because Hideo beat him. But this feud ain't over between Hideo and Tyler Breeze. When will this take place? Probably on an NXT show soon, but I think Hideo's got Tyler's number. And hopefully when he gets the opportunity, he can stick that selfie so far up Tyler's ass, he'd have surgery to remove it. And then after that, it was announced that this coming week's episode of NXT, Charlotte would get a rematch with Sasha Banks for the NXT Women's Championship. Do I want Sasha to win? I probably think she will going to win, since I've heard that Charlotte's on the verge of being called up to the main roster, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes this week on NXT. Right, the next match in the NXT was Lucha Dragons versus Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. Now, match starts, and Jordan competes in the match. He takes the match and takes the fight to the Lucha Dragons. It did a pretty good job of it and the Lucha Dragons tried to use their quickness. Didn't work. And Jordan was using his power and using it very, very effectively because he was dominant when he was in against the Lucha Dragons. He was very dominant, and then he tags in Dillinger, and unfortunately, that was the last we'll ever see of Jordan in the match because Dillinger got a little bit greedy. He basically turned this match into a 2-on-1 match, trying to fight the Lucha Dragons all by himself, leaving his partner Jordan on the outside. And when Jordan was asking for a tag, he would deny him a tag. Ty Dillinger, that is. He would deny him the tag, and then at one point Jordan asked for another tag, and Ty turned around and went, "Relax." Basically Dillinger got a little bit greedy and got a little bit too big for his own ego, so to speak, and did not use Jason Jordan to his advantage, or did not tag him to his advantage. And then towards the end of the match, the Lucha Dragons were involved and were dominant towards Ty Dillinger, and then Ty Dillinger manages to break away and goes for a tag, but Jason steps down and walks out, basically making a statement: "You didn't tag me in. You didn't, you obviously didn't need me in the match, so you do your thing all by yourself." And then Jason walks away and leaves Ty all by himself, which basically in a 2-on-1 handicap match, which is basically what it was anyway. Because let's face it, the minute Jason Jordan tagged out, he never came back in, so to speak. And then I believe it was Kalisto got his move in, and the Sin Cara finished off Mr. Dillinger and got the victory for the team, and the Lucha Dragons ended up winning the match. But the commentator is saying that this was basically a miscommunication and all that. No, I disagree. Jason Jordan made a statement, and you've got to be on this. And I believe it was Corey that said that you have to be on the same page in tag team wrestling. And it's clear as day that Mr. Dillinger and Mr. Jordan were not on the same page at the end of the match. So, be interested to see what happens next. Be interested to see what happens next for the Lucha Dragons. Will they get a tag title shot? We'll have to wait and see. We came back from a commercial break, and Ty Dillinger was still in the ring. They wanted him to go, and he said that he wasn't going anywhere or anything until Jordan came back out and explained why he abandoned him. And there was a next match in the horizon, and Ty turned around and went, "I will fight whoever comes out next." Okay, Baron Corbin walked out, and then Ty regretted what he said, basically. And then Baron came out and basically beat Ty in 15 seconds, which was, a piece of piss. Somewhere during that as well, they announced that Sami Zayn would return to NXT this coming week to address the universe since his loss to Kevin Owens at TakeOver Raw, I believe it was, 2 weeks ago. Charlotte came in for an interview to talk about her rematch with Sasha Banks, and sounded extremely confident that she'll get a championship back, and said that the NXT Women's title is coming back where it belongs, guaranteed. Also, Mr. Tyler Breeze came up with a promo saying that, or claiming that Mr. Hideo Itami from earlier on in the match had fell right into the trap of Tyler Breeze. Yeah, sounds like he was covering his ground, basically. At least from what I saw, because it seemed that Tyler fell into Hideo's trap. But like I said, this feud between them two ain't over. And before the tag team match, they showed a promo video of the Brian Kendrick, building up to the main event match, which is Finn Balor and Brian Kendrick. More on that in a minute. But yeah, up next was Bayley and two girls in the women's fatal four-way, and no, it wasn't Sasha Banks or Charlotte. Bayley and Becky Lynch were up next in a women's match. Another great Divas match, Becky Lynch and Bayley. First of all, I just want to say this: Bayley's entrance is hilarious. I love it. I hear entrances like that, and I think Grado. It's very Grado-like, but hey, it's WWE. And these two went at it for a good 5 minutes at the most, 4 to 5 minutes at the most, from what I got when I was watching it. And yeah, they did very well. Maybe Vince McMahon needs to watch some NXT shows and study some NXT matches, because trust me, NXT knows how to put a good diva match on. And yeah, it was great match for the time that they had, back and forth. Bayley at one point trying to think she was Sami Zayn. I ton up, but hey, it was effective. And then one time Bayley got Becky up on top rope, and Becky pushed her off, and her shoulder, Bayley's shoulder that is, caught the top rope, and Becky took advantage of that by putting on an armbar submission hold, and then basically ripping the arm out of its socket before Bayley tapped out for Becky to win the match. During this match, though, I want to know if anyone could tell me, and if you can, please get me on Facebook.com/WM Podcast, at Tony_Walker on Twitter, or WM Podcast on Twitter as well, and tell me what the hell Corey Graves' problem is with Becky Lynch. It seems every single match he says that he respects her, but as a person he hates her. Every single match that Becky has, he always seems to bash her. I mean, what's this guy's problem with her is what I want to know, because it is kind of annoying. But Becky proved the doubters wrong, and Becky wins the match and makes Bayley tap out. What's next for Bayley, I don't know. And also it was announced during the match that the main event of this coming week's NXT show will be the women's title match. So that's awesome in itself, that the women's title on NXT is going to be main eventing. Maybe they might want to main event in NXT. Maybe they might want to start thinking about doing that with the WWE show, the WWE Divas title. But hey, let's face it, the Divas title ain't worthless. It ain't worth shit compared to the women's title on NXT. So, and it's been well documented. I know you guys out there saying, "Oh, how can you say that?" It's been well documented. Let's face it, the Divas title's first time defended at WrestleMania was WrestleMania 30. Need I say more? And then after the match, it was a Rhino promo and Rhino interview backstage, and being asked why was he on NXT. And he says he's going to go through the competition, and he's going to go through the roster with a go, and split people in half. And he said he liked the fire that they had inside, that of wanting to be the best. So, Rhino, NXT champion, I like it. But I want to see the ECW Rhino. Not the WWE ECW, the old ECW. Because if he brings that back, he'd tear half the roster apart. Now for the final part, which was the main event. That's right. The main event of the evening. Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, Fergal Devitt versus the Brian Kendrick. Now, let me talk about the match first before I talk about the main talking point. Great match. Great wrestling match between the two. Fast-paced. Back and forth between the two. And what Triple H needs to do is put these two on a big show. Because apparently they're both signed to an NXT contract, or WWE contract on NXT. They're both signed to the NXT brand, so Rhino and the Brian Kendrick, at least I'm hoping Brian Kendrick's signed there. So what Triple H needs to do is put these two, Brian Kendrick and Finn Balor, on a pay-per-view or a big show, and have these two go at it on there, because I think they'll get a better match than they did on the television. It was a great match, but it was kind of overshadowed for what happened at the announce table, involving one Kevin Owens and Alex Gobshite Riley. Now, the reason why I say that is this. It started off during the match, and Alex comes out with a question saying that you showed... Well, this is Alex saying this to Kevin Owens. At NXT Rival, you showed no remorse to Sami Zayn, your friend. And then Kevin came back and says, well, unlike you, blah, 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 you've never been NXT champion. Alex, just to counteract what Alex said, Riley turns around and goes, maybe I've never been NXT champion, but as a man, I would have not done, but I'm a man, and as a man, I would not have done what I did to my friend. Basically, insulted him right there, and basically pissed off Kevin Owens, because Kevin was pissed, no doubt, and then he leaves. Before the break, because they went to a commercial break, before the commercial break that they had, Riley goes on and goes, I didn't mean to insult him, like if he was shitting himself or something, like if he was scared, like it was like a bully, schoolyard bully, looking around, scared of what he was going to do. Anyway, the match continued. Finn ended up winning the match with Brian Kendrick, and then after the match, Owens comes out on the stage, stares down Finn in the ring, and then walks over to the announce table, grabs Alex Riley and throws him across the announce table. And then that's how NXT ended. And then after that, it's on the YouTube page, NXT Breakdown, or the Breakdown of NXT, featured Alex Riley, and he went backstage demanding a match against Kevin Owens basically went backstage demanding a match with Kevin Owens from William Regal, but Regal gave him a choice. He said you can either be a commentator or a competitor. So obviously that's something for Mr. Riley to think about. But as far as the show goes, 4.5 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed Mr. Riley getting his comeuppance, to be honest with you, because how stupid is that? Good grief. But anyway, so the moral of this is, when is Finn going to get his title shot? Will he get his title shot? Because will Kevin Owens have to go one-on-one with Sami Zayn? Depending on what Sami Zayn says this week on NXT. And obviously Kevin Owens versus Alex O'Reilly somewhere down the pipeline. So with that being said, ladies and gents, that is the end of the NXT review. 4.5 out of 10 for the NXT show. And after this quick promo break thing that I'm going to put on, after this, I'll be back with Raw and Smackdown main points. So stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters Podcast, why not check out the Wrestling Matters Podcast Facebook fan page at www.facebook.com/WM Podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back to the second part of the Wrestling Matters Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Raw. Raw kicked off this week with the return of Randy Orton. That's right, Randy Orton. And boy, oh boy, did he have something he had to say. I will talk about the Fastlane show later on in the podcast. But for those of you that didn't know, a little spoiler alert for those of you that don't know, Randy returned at Fastlane, and obviously he's looking for Seth Rollins. However, Stephanie McMahon had other ideas. McMahon, flanked by Kane, Big Show, and Triple H, was more than willing to allow the former World Heavyweight Champion to rejoin the Authority and take his place as the face of the WWE once more. Even more incredulous was Orton's eventual reaction to the offer, a tentative, if somewhat sinister-sounding, commitment to attend a backstage business conference to formally cement his reintroduction via a tag team bout with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, with Seth as his partner later on. Never trust a viper, and he's a snake. Snakes bite. He's going to bite at some point. With R-Truth at ringside on commentary to demand the WWE Universe #give Truth a chance for a title opportunity after his win on Smackdown, Barrett dismantled the show off with clubbering blows from his fists and feet. In equal measure, a reversal of Wasteland into a DDT gave Ziggler some space, and Barrett was right there to catch him with the wings of change. Off a ping-ponging sprint between the tables. Barrett was unable to connect with the bullhammer elbow, however, as Ziggler rammed him into the turnbuckle and pounced with zigzag for the win. Ambrose materialized moments later with the Intercontinental Championship belt in hand and trash talk spewing from his mouth. Barrett, of course, was in no position to throw down with the lunatic champion. Ziggler, however, seemed interested. Congratulations to the primetime players. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, somebody has beaten the Ascension. The primetime players got a win over the Ascension, but after the match, they unfortunately got an Ascension beatdown because the Ascension didn't take too kindly to it. After his loss to the United States Champion at Fastlane pay-per-view, he called it a technicality because, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, John Cena never gave up. He passed out through the pain, but John Cena came out on Raw and demanded and challenged Rusev to a match at WrestleMania. The Russian monster came out and gloated about his win over Cena at Fastlane and denied Cena an opportunity for a rematch with the answer no. Will Cena never get his rematch? After their partnership dissolved, Ryback seemed to be on friendly terms, yet the big guy showed his old buddy no quarter in a friendly yet firm declamation of the Axeman on Raw. They squared off moments after the two bros declared they would join Miz in the second annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. Despite a smothering opening attack from Axel, Ryback proved too strong and too quick, and the man who still thinks he's in the Royal Rumble got dismounted by his former tag team partner. Axel Mania took a detour down Shell-Shocked Road. And as for the main event, a tag team match that saw Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Teamwork makes the dreams work, but it seemed as though Rollins was headed for a awakening nightmare when he found himself in the sights of the Viper's punt. Instead of kicking Rollins into next week, however, the Viper offered a rough, if seemingly genuine pat on the arm. Probably best Rollins takes that with a grain of salt, although Orton's mood after the match was Viper mode, I would say. Because let's face it, this match, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns won the match, but let's face it, Orton walked out, left Rollins on his own. Can they trust Randy Orton? I don't think so. But the question is Orton setting up a trap? I will say this though, this story between Orton, if you can call it a story, between Orton and Seth Rollins, because you know they're going to meet at WrestleMania. At some point. The thing is, what direction is this going to go? Because quite frankly, it's took a turn for the weird, if you ask me. Question is, will it last? I don't think so. Rollins, Orton at WrestleMania. It's just a case of when it's going to be announced. Right, that was the end of the Raw main points. Now we'll move over to Smackdown. And without further ado, let's get this going. Smackdown opened up with Daniel Bryan this week, and tensions was boiling because Wade Barrett came out and interrupted Daniel Bryan, wanting his Intercontinental Championship back. However, the former World Heavyweight Champion got in the face of Bad News Barrett, only to have Dean Ambrose come down with the championship and basically gave Mr. Barrett an opportunity to get his title back there and then. And with Daniel Bryan watching on, Mr. Barrett and Mr. Ambrose got it on one-on-one and just got into a nice brawl. And with an opportunity to get the belt back, Daniel Bryan held the belt in his arms. Barrett came in and demanded that he gave it back, but Mr. Bryan was really reluctant to give it back, although out of nowhere, Dean Ambrose put a stop to Mr. Barrett's chances of getting his Intercontinental Championship back. Speaking of Dean Ambrose, he went one-on-one with The Miz. During the action, though, Bad News Barrett crept in and, after suffering the wrath of the Lunatic Fringe, managed to steal his belt back. Though Miz attempted to capitalize on the distraction, Ambrose quickly struck back and finished off the A-lister with dirty deeds to get the win. Once again with R-Truth at ringside, Daniel Bryan this time went one-on-one with Mr. Bad News Barrett. Following an altercation earlier in the night with Daniel Bryan and Dean Ambrose, Bad News Barrett took on the beard with R-Truth again at ringside and eyeing the title holder's reclaimed Intercontinental Championship. In fact, it wasn't long before Truth tiptoed his way over to the ring and stole the title once again. In the contest's final moments, Barrett looked ready to hit the bullhammer elbow, but at the last second, Bryan countered with a running knee out of nowhere and picked up the 3 count. With that defeat, Barrett had lost 3 matches in a row. Truth on last week, Dolph on Raw, and now Bryan. And later, R-Truth returned the stolen title to Dean Ambrose. And then it was announced that at WrestleMania, the Intercontinental Champion, Bad News Barrett, will defend the championship, the Intercontinental Championship, in a ladder match. Goldust went one-on-one with Adam Rose. Moments after Goldust overcame the latest entry into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which was Adam Rose, and beat him with the final cup, disguised as one of the Rosebuds, Stardust attacked Goldust and made a statement at the expense of his brother. Goldust and Stardust at WrestleMania, Adam Rose winning the Battle Royal. If that happens, I will never, ever, ever be the same again. Good grief. Bray Wyatt continued to taunt The Undertaker. Question is, will The Undertaker show up for the match at WrestleMania? And last but not least, the main event of SmackDown, which was the Fastlane rematch of the 6-man tag involving Dolph Ziggler, Eric Rowan, and Ryback versus Kane, Big Show, and Seth Rollins. Holy moly. When order completely broke down in the final moments of the match of the Fastlane rematch, Eric Rowan hurled J&J Security's Jamie Noble into the ring. This distracted the referee long enough for Dolph Ziggler to connect with an earth-shattering super kick to Seth Rollins' jaw after Seth Rollins was attempting to do curb stomp on, I believe it was Ryback. Instead of doing the curb stomp, he just jumps right into Ziggler's foot, turns around, gets the shell-shocked, and that was it. 1, 2, 3, Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback get a small measure of revenge over their adversaries after what happened at Fastlane. Question is, what's going to happen next on Raw? Have to wait and see. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the SmackDown and Raw main talking points. Later on, I will talk about the Fastlane pay-per-view itself. But until then, I will be back after this with TNA's main talking points. Stay tuned. Be sure to listen to the Wrestling Matters podcast each and every Monday, only on Mixcloud, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, Podomatic, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans, we talk about Monday Night Raw, we shoot the breeze, we pipe bomb, and we tell it like it is. Tune in each and every Monday for the Wrestling Matters podcast, where wrestling matters. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast, and without further ado, I'm not going to waste your time. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about TNA. I want to talk about the main points of TNA. Now, first of all, I just want to bring up something up that I forgot to mention last week on the show. Samoa Joe, as of last week, is no longer a part of the TNA roster, is no longer part of TNA Wrestling. He and TNA decided to part ways, and he announced it on his Twitter page. But it's also been announced that starting in March 7th, or at the beginning of March at least, Samoa Joe returns to Ring of Honor. That's right, Samoa Joe comes home to Ring of Honor, and he's going, and there's some dates being announced. Go to ringofhonorwrestling.com for the details. But the big bad Samoan who had a hell of a run as Ring of Honor World Champion, 2 years I believe it was, he's back. And I feel sorry for anyone who's on that Ring of Honor roster who gets in his way. Anyway, back to TNA. Impact Wrestling kicked off this week with MVP winning the gauntlet. Kurt Angle enters the ring and calls out Lashley. Angle says he worked for over a year to have another shot at the TNA title. He declares that he'll have his opportunity. After tonight, he hopes Lashley is still the champion and after facing the Beatdown Clan. After Angle leaves, the BDC enters to confront the champ. Samoa Joe says Lashley should listen to Angle and that all of Lashley's success is owed to every member of the BDC. The fans respond to a chorus of boos and "You sold out" chants. MVP says the BDC is united and that Lashley stands alone. How alone? Find out later on. Talk about that later on. Samoa Joe goes into a fight and goes one-on-one with Austin Aries. This all started from the back, but it went out to the ring. Austin Aries and Joe impromptu battle carries into the ring. Aries dominates the Samoan submission machine and gets a 2 count. Joe counters a brainbuster attempt by hanging Aries over the top rope and sending him outside with a huge kick to the face. Joe drives Aries into the steel steps. He tosses him into the steps again. For good measure, he rolls Aries back into the ring and crowds him into the corner. Joe is relentless with a series of stomps. Joe connects with a running knee and a headbutt to the kidneys. Joe and Aries trade forearm shots, but Aries gets the better of the exchange before Joe counters with an atomic drop, a stiff kick, and a splash. Joe locks a bear hug. Aries boxes Joe's ears. Joe rakes the eyes, but when he charges Aries, he's sent to the outside. Aries jumps from the turnbuckle and connects with a clubbering blow. Joe rolls into the ring and Aries mounts some offense. Aries attempts another brainbuster. Joe counters into a full Nelson. Joe attempts a muscle buster, but Aries counters to a schoolboy. Samoa Joe kicks out before 2 and Aries locks in last chancery. Kenny King comes to the ringside and distracts Aries with his briefcase. Aries sends Joe into King before connecting with a crucifix and a 450 splash for the win. Winner is Austin Aries. Post-match though, Low Key and Kenny King rush to the ring and a 3-on-1 attack ensures. The BDC drapes Aries over a table. Low-Key climbs the ropes and comes down with the Warrior's Way, but the table doesn't break, so Joe crashes into Aries, sending him through the table the rest of the way. And then Joe chokes him out. Now, for the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship match. Back and forth, good match, which saw something happened at the end of it. And I'm not going to go through it, but Lashley spears MVP, but as he falls, MVP takes out the referee. Eric Young rushes to the ring and attacks Lashley with a steel chair. Eric Young sets Lashley up for a power driver, Bobby Roode makes the save. Lashley and MVP make it back to their feet. Lashley drops MVP with a huge power slam. The champion makes the cover, but Kenny King pulls the referee from the ring before the 3. Joe and King attack Lashley. Gunner emerges to combat Joe. Lashley takes out Kenny King and MVP capitalizes. MVP makes a cover, but there's no ref. Brian Hebner rushes to the ring and Lashley powers out at 2. Now, Brian Hebner gets distracted with the medics for the referee on the outside. MVP grabs a chair, but out of nowhere, Drew Galloway makes a save by kicking MVP in his face, setting up the challenger for a huge spear from Lashley, and Lashley gets the victory to retain the championship. What's the future hold for Drew Galloway? He's the reigning ICW heavyweight champion. What is his future hold in TNA? I guess we'll see. I guess we'll have to see. Even though TNA is taped, ladies and gentlemen, so this probably happened in January or something. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Right, I'll end that there, ladies and gentlemen. That was the end of the TNA main talking points. And after the break, after this quick little commercial, I will bring you Ring of Honor. That's right. ROH is next.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shubs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Right then, you lovely, lovely people. Welcome back to the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now, last week's episode went out on YouTube and that. Going into that episode, as that episode was aired, and as I aired that episode to the way I did, that episode was aired, and on the Facebook fan page, or the Facebook page of the Wrestling Matters podcast, I aired that episode, and I had 85 likes. Now, with a little promotion here and there, in the space of 3 to 4 days, maybe shorter, I went from 85 likes to 156 likes, added to 1. So now I've got 158 likes. Again, guys, thank you so much for supporting the podcast the way you do. I'm going through a little bad patch at the moment, but hopefully by sometime this week, I'll have everything back to normal where it was. Normal service will resume. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but it's difficult at the moment considering what my bank account has been doing to me and my bank. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I decided this past week to watch Ring of Honor Wrestling. The last television show, which was Ring of Honor Road Rage, I believe it was called, going into their 13th anniversary show, which was yesterday. Now, going into this show, it was actually a pretty good show. I always had my doubts and my theories and my wearies about, you know, what's going to happen and that with Ring of Honor and certain other wrestling show. Ring of Honor is good. Is it as good as what it used to be? No. I probably think not. It's not. But that's just my opinion. Now, Alberto Del Rio kicked off the TV show this week with Alberto El Patron. That's right. We all know who he is. And he took on ACH. Now, good match for what they had on television. And I loved it for what it was. Alberto took early control of the match. AC got his control of the match, but Alberto challenging ACH. ACH showed his step ahead of Alberto, and he's definitely the quicker, and he definitely was the quicker of the two. Experience pays off though for Alberto. Experience, because he was definitely the experience of the two for what it was. ACH took his control back, but made a mistake, and Alberto fails to take advantage of ACH mistake, and ACH reclaims advantage. It was a back and forth match between the two. Very hard hitting for what it was, but it was a back and forth match. This is wrestling chant started. ACH did an insane dive on the outside onto Alberto. ACH 450 right into Alberto's knees, and then Alberto got up and got the armbar for the win. A good match, and A nice little match as well for Alberto going into the 13th anniversary show, which he will be facing, or which he fought Jay Lethal for the TV title. Now, Michael Elgin versus Mark Briscoe. This was just basically a warm-up match because Elgin had a title shot in a fatal 4-way for the Ring of Honor World Championship. So basically, he's going in to face Jack. Who did they put him in with? Oh yeah, we'll put him in with Mark. With Jay, sorry. What did I say, Jack? I'm thinking of the other Briscoes. Jay Briscoe. I will put him in with Mark, his brother. Mark took an early advantage with an insane flip dive. Yeah, the match hadn't even started, and he just goes, and Elgin's on the outside. He goes right into the corner with a turnbuckle, and then Mark just does a flip dive over the turnbuckle and just lands on him. Perfect way to start the match as well. And Mark got Elgin reeling. I'd be reeling if he did that to me. Elgin impressive second rope flip dive, putting him in control with a near fall. Elgin definitely showed his power, definitely was the power of the two. I would say Mark was more quicker. He performed a neck break and got a near fall out of it. It was a back and forth match between the two, very hard hitting as well. Briscoe leaves himself wide open, he definitely did. I don't know what the heck he was doing. I think he was trying to do his impersonation of Dusty Rhodes or something, and then Mark... And as he was doing it, he left himself wide open, wasted too much time, and Elgin just smacks him right in the face and nearly knocks him clean out. Elgin is so agile. He really is. His agility and his agileness is just insane for someone of his size. Hard hitting stuff between the two. Yeah, like I said, it was a hard hitting match. I mean, these two could have had a match on a pay-per-view. It would have been a great match nonetheless. And Elgin sends a message to Jay Briscoe by using his finisher to beat his brother going into their title match at the 13th anniversary show. Now, after the match, a brawl ensued, and it was a fight between all four guys. Going into the title match, building up to the title match, and then Elgin walks back up the aisle with the World Championship in his hand, looking at it and thinking he was going to reclaim it. On to the television championship match, which was the main event. Chain wrestling to start off the match, and by the way, this match consisted of Roderick Strong and Jay Lethal. Chain wrestling to start the match, with the advantage going to Jay Lethal. Roderick Strong not giving Jay a chance to breathe, that meaning that he was dominating Jay, and he'd gone on Jay, and he stayed on Jay, not giving him a chance to breathe. Once he put a move on, he got right back up and put another bit of offense on him, but Jay got right back in control. The ability for Roderick Strong to switch on a dime is, switch offense on a dime is insane. Jay with 3 dives on Roderick Strong. He did three dives back to back on Roderick, which definitely gave him the advantage. Great wrestling between the two. It was a great match. BJ Whitmer interferes, attacking Roderick Strong, almost costing him the belt. The match restarted. Roderick Strong going for the win with Stronghold. Jay breaks it and gets a rope break. Back and forth again with a near fall for Jay Lethal. It's just a great wrestling match. If you haven't seen this match, go and watch it. Go and watch the show. Like I said, great wrestling between the two. And 2 super kick add lethal injection equals win for Lethal to retain. Great match nonetheless. Kind of ruined by BJ Whitmer, but understandably. And then after the match, all hell breaks loose backstage because Strong went looking for Whitmer and got a brawl ensued backstage with them fighting, which was eventually broke up. Great wrestling match, great show. I would give that a 4 out of 5. 8 out of 10 if I was scoring out of 10. It was a great show. Good way to lead into the 13th anniversary show, which was yesterday. Now, I'll be back after this, ladies and gentlemen, with ICW and Fastlane review, as well as the views and opinions in the world of professional wrestling. So stay tuned.
The king of rock.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, and now it is time for my review on what took place at the Fastlane pay-per-view. Now, I'll kick this off with Goldust and Stardust, because that match was controversial, in a way. An okay match. I think the match was setting up a potential match at WrestleMania between the two, unless these two are in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It seems, from what I got in that match, or what I got at the ending of that match, that these two are going to be facing each other at WrestleMania. Apparently, the angle is that Cody is not Cody Rhodes anymore. Apparently, he is 100% grade A Stardust. And at the match, they got the pinfall. Goldust got the pinfall, but it didn't look like there was a 3 count there, and they just gave the match to Cody, to Goldust. Cody didn't take too kindly to it, and when Goldust was backstage talking to Dusty Rhodes, Stardust came out of nowhere and attacked Cody, and despite Dusty trying to get involved and stop him, it was to no effect. So I don't know if this match is not, but this feud, if you can call it a feud, is not over, and it seems they're going with Goldust versus Stardust at WrestleMania. They quite frankly should have done this last year, but they didn't. Cody Rhodes versus Goldust at WrestleMania, but it seems that it's heading down that way, but it's a weird way, to be honest with you, because the Stardust thing is now getting out of control. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Stardust character for Cody is 110% gold. It really is. But it seems now it's like a poison that's just like sucked into his head. It's like out of a movie. It's like sucked into his head and made him change into this person. And I don't like the way it's being done or anything and that. But hey, Stardust, Goldust, WrestleMania. Now, Fastlane kicked off with a 6-man tag. What I said earlier on with the 6-man tag from Smackdown, this is what it was like here. This is the way it came off at the Fastlane pay-per-view. Now, don't get me wrong, the Authority's associates emerged victorious in the 6-man tag, and they got the win. It was a good 6-man tag, good way to kick off the show, I thought, but that wasn't the story of the match. Seth Rollins' worst nightmare came true. The Viper returned, and as they were putting the beat down on Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback, the Authority's associates and yes, J&J Security had to be involved too. Out of nowhere, Randy Orton comes out, RKO's 2 people at least, goes to put Rollins in the DDT. Rollins manages to escape and then turns around and RKO's Kane and makes a statement. He wants Rollins. But on Raw, as I told you guys earlier on, that kind of took a turn for the weird. So whether that goes or not, but I know and I believe that it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. You know it's going to happen, and I don't care what anyone says. Now, I'll go to the Divas match. Nikki Page was defeated by Nikki Page. Oh, bloody hell. Nikki Bella is what I meant to say. Get a grip, Walker. Beat Page in a regular Divas match. I don't know where this is going to go. At the Divas champion overcame Paige in an extremely heated confrontation to keep the butterfly title firmly around the waist of the fearless female Fatal, or as she's now known as Mrs. Cena, or the future Mrs. Cena. Now, where the Divas title is going to go, I don't know, and quite frankly, I probably don't care. Will it be defended at WrestleMania? More than likely, since it took him to last year's WrestleMania to start defending the title. Oh, brother. I'm not even going to go into that right now. I could go into a lot of things about the Divas Championship, but you might have to watch previous episodes to see where I go with it, because it could take a turn for the worst. For the Divas title, at least. Rusev beat John Cena after Lana's interference and a low blow, and the United States champion retained. I like the way WWE went with this because they allowed Rusev to win, but it made him look weak. Oh yeah, Lana comes in, he kicks him in the nuts, and then puts the camel clutch on him, and Cena passes out. He didn't tap out, he passed out, which leads to him challenging him to a match at WrestleMania. If they were going to put this on at WrestleMania, they should have just put it on at WrestleMania. They could have built the match up through Fastlane. Oh yeah, we'll put a match on and have him look like this, and then we'll make the match at WrestleMania. Give me a break. I mean, the match was scheduled to be at WrestleMania, and then they bring it forward. Oh yeah, the match is supposed to be at WrestleMania, and then they bring it forward to Fastlane, and now they want to book it, and now Cena comes out, or they have Cena come out and challenge him to the match at WrestleMania. If you were going to book something at WrestleMania between Rusev and Cena, then you should have just stayed with that, man. I mean, you could have worked something spectacular. Cena versus Rusev at WrestleMania, Cena becoming the US champion at WrestleMania, and having something to go at, work through Fastlane, like a story or an angle that leads into WrestleMania between the two. Instead, you book a match and then just completely mess it up. That's what they should have done. I mean, if it was going to be at WrestleMania, you should have kept it for WrestleMania. It makes no sense, but hey, it happened, and Rusev got the victory. Intercontinental Champion Bad News Barrett defeats Dean Ambrose by disqualification. Dean Ambrose may not have won the match, but he was still able to walk out of Fastlane with the Intercontinental Championship. He basically beat down Bad News Barrett and walked out and stole the Intercontinental Championship. Dirty Deeds, despite Rudy Charles' attempt to get the Intercontinental Championship belt, didn't work, and he gets away with it. Good match, but did it have to end on a DQ? I mean, these two could have had an epic confrontation right there and then and had a match, and then they still could have had the six-way, or the potential ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. I don't like seeing matches or potential good matches in this case between Ambrose and Barrett to end on DQs unless it's going to make sense or unless it's going to set up for something down the road. I mean, WWE booking, good logic. Potential show-stealing match ruined by DQ. Probably a highlight of the night for me, at least, was we have new tag team champions. Now, I've thought about this a lot. It was a great tag team match between the Usos, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro won. Yes! But I think it's going to be a 1 month title reign. I hope not, but I'm predicting right now it's going to be a 1 month title reign. Now, the reason why I say that is because it seems from what I'm seeing on Raw and since Fastlane that there's going to be a rematch between the two. They've had their rematch already. Usos invoked the rematch clause, but it didn't go well, and there was signs of setting up a match at WrestleMania between the two tag teams. But I'm going to think that the Usos are going to win the tag belts back at WrestleMania. Why? Their dad's going into the Hall of Fame, so it'll kind of set up something big in that respects. I hope not, but that's the way I see it, at least. Yeah, and it is what it is. But it was a great match nonetheless, and I am glad Cesaro and Kidd won the tag titles. But hoping it doesn't happen, we'll get the answer to that after WrestleMania. Maybe they should have had it maybe should have had the title change at WrestleMania. But we'll see. I'll probably talk about that after WrestleMania. And, of course, the main event, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, one-on-one, winner meets Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. It was a good match. As a matter of fact, good match, no. As I say, it goes far as say it was a great match between the two. I enjoyed it. I think Roman Reigns proved himself and proved that he did deserve it. He deserved it anyway because he won the Royal Rumble. Whether you like it or not, if you win the Royal Rumble, you should go to WrestleMania. People wanted the triple threat match. We already had that last year, so it was a good match, back and forth. The wrestler versus the proverbial brawler, as Daniel Bryan put it. And I think they kicked out. I think Bryan kicked out of the spear, and I believe they also kicked out as well. I think Reigns kicked out of the knee, which has never been done until now, of course. And then as he went for the knee again, he turned round and runs right into a spear, and Reigns gets the victory. And then after the match, they shake hands, and Bryan basically tells Reigns to get the title, which he's going to do anyway. I'll talk about that on a later date. But all in all, guys, Fastlane to me, for what it was. Oh, and before I forget, it's on. Sting versus Triple H at WrestleMania. The confrontation came out. Sting never talked. I think Triple H was trying to lure him in, say, why don't we just do business together? You know, and all that. And then Triple H goes to cheap shot him. Sting fights, and then fights Triple H back. And then Triple H hits him with the microphone. Starts beating him up a little bit, and then goes to get the sledgehammer, and then Sting sticks the bat right in his chin. Literally. Triple H drops the sledgehammer. Sting challenges him to a match at WrestleMania, and he says, fine, it's your funeral. Sting turned around and goes, I'll see you at Mania. Walks off. Triple H goes to cheap shot him again, and Sting just whacks him with the bat in his gut. which was hilarious. But the match is on at WrestleMania. Oh, and he got a Scorpion Death Drop for his troubles as well, Triple H. So the match is on at WrestleMania. Sting versus Triple H, 1-on-1 at WrestleMania. What story is going to be done with that? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But like I was saying, I would give this an 8 out of 10 for me. I actually thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. I actually thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view, and I was pleasantly surprised with it as well. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, after this, I'm going to talk about ICW's second episode of the Friday Night Fight Club, as well as talking about views and opinions in the world of professional wrestling, and plus a few thank yous to go with it as well. So join me after this, won't you? Stay tuned. Hello everyone, Anthony Walker here. January 26th on the website. That's right, my website is finally born. My website, theheadanthonywalker.weebly.com. It will be born January 26th. Make sure you view it and check it out for all the good stuff. Podcast episodes. The Wrestling Madness channel is going to be on there as well. Videos from that. Games Matter channel, my other projects, and various other good stuff also. Also, you can listen to audio from the Wrestling Madness podcast. Not only that, some interview audio as well will be going up there as well. Be sure to check it out. January 26th, next week Monday, January 26th, the Wrestling Matters podcast comes to a website. My website, theheadanthonywalker.weebly.com. That's right, your favourite podcast host gets his own website. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
In anybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe bomb.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast, and as you probably heard there, it's time for another pipe bomb, as well as the ICW main points and review. But before I get to this, the ICW stuff, the ICW show, episode 2 of the Fight Club, isn't karma a bitch, I tell you. Anybody see the Brit Awards this past week? Yep. Madonna fell off the stage. And more importantly, because of all this, she... the whole thing's gone Vine. That's right. Remember them RKO out of nowhere Vines that were up? Madonna's got one with her taking an RKO. But my favourite one was the one from Grado. Because, I'll get to this now, she still won't let Grado use the song. Because on the Fight Club, Friday Night Fight Club episode 2, before, as he's coming out to the match for his 6-man tag, he gets... he comes on, you hear him deliver a message saying, "Say yes, Madonna," the whole campaign thing and that, and always look on the bright side of life. Now, I know that's a message to Madonna, and I highly doubt, and if ICW is going to get that message, they're going to have to do a better job than that. Because let's face it, I'm pretty sure that Madonna doesn't go out and buy the ICW on demand service, which is what you should do if you're a wrestling fan, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be the best £3.85 you'll ever spend. Believe me, I bought it. But yeah, the whole thing's still going to go until she eventually says yes, which I'm hoping she does, because like I said last week, there's a lot of people that I know that I speak to want to go and experience that entrance. Hell, I want to do it too. So if ICW is listening to this, please come to Middlesbrough. I know you come to Newcastle, I know you come to Leeds, I know you've been there. We got a spot for you in Middlesbrough, you know. There's the town hall. You could pack that place. There's the Riverside Stadium, but I highly doubt that they'll let you use that. And I don't think you'd do outdoors. You know, heck, there's the arena down the town, the old TFM Soundworks arena. You could put on a show in there. Don't know how much it will hold, like, but hey, it works for Tiny Temper concerts, so please come to Middlesbrough. But anyway, enough of all that. It's time for the review of the Friday Night Fight Club 2. Now, Friday Night Fight Club kicked off with what happened the previous week, the week before, who was going to be the tag partners going into the 6-man tag match with Grado and the 55. Polo Promotions get into an interview claiming that they were not informed on the match that they had upcoming with the Bucky Boys, that there was no promotion in there, and claiming that the Bucky Boys were entry-level tag team. Tommy Ends says, death is art, and art is death, apparently. Actually, death is art, art is life is what I meant to say. Getting ready for Dickie Divers by painting Mikey Whiplash. Okay. Hey, he's a strange guy. And by the way, he's wrestling on next week's episode. So is Mikey Whiplash. Now, Dickie Divers versus Tommy End. A quick start to the match. Dickie Divers flattens Tommy with an elbow strike. Almost took his face off with it. Then proceeds to cut the turnbuckle with some scissors. Divers goes for a moonsault and misses. Tommy takes full control despite Divers mounting a comeback. Divers hits a beautiful bulldog to get a near fall, then goes and slaps on a figure four. Back and forth match with some great wrestling, and it was some good wrestling between the two. The Mikey Whiplash's tag partner and the winner of the square goal, ladies and gents. Divers toying with Tommy until Tommy takes Divers' head off with a knee strike, a couple of combinations, fast quick combinations, and then Tommy bounces right off the ropes and just takes his head off with a knee. Divers hits an enziguri. Tommy's face bounces off the turnbuckle that was exposed by Dickie Divers, and then Divers gets the win for the 1-2-3. Not very good for going into the next week's match, but Dickie's proven to be a dark horse since he's won the square goal. Joe Coffey comes out, and Saqib Ali, if that's pronounced wrong I apologise, he just basically comes out and manhandles him and says that it's a crime, that his life has always been about respect, calls out Drew Galloway and says that he wants the World Championship. And yes, ICW Heavyweight Championship is now the ICW World Heavyweight Championship, thanks to Drew Galloway. Tommy and Divers shake hands, but Tommy says to Dickie that it's not over yet, that it's far from over. And then for the Tag Team Championships, tag titles, ICW Tag Team Championships. And by the way, during this episode, they were promoting the face-off between Jackie Polo and Adrian and Lionheart as well for the Baromania March 29th. And I'm guessing that'll be on sometime the week commencing the 30th of March as well for the ICW On Demand. This is why you should get ICW On Demand, people. Anyway, Mark Coffey and Stevie Boy start off the tag team title match. Coffey takes control for Polo Promotions. They just basically, Jackie distracted Stevie Boy and gets control for Polo Promotions. Makes a mistake, sees the Bucky Boys take charge, but Mark puts a stop to that and begins to dominate the match. The pace quickens. Coffey takes Stevie Boy's head off with a clothesline, just flattens him with a clothesline, and then goes to a break. Comes back after the break. Stevie Boy was taking some power slams. It was like Polo was just using him like a ragdoll. He kept on power slamming him basically until Stevie would stay down, which was fucking great. Can you believe this? A 3D from the Bucky Boys? Yes, you heard me correct. 3D on Jackie Polo. And then Promotions, double team, and then Coffey hits a German suplex, and then Polo gets the victory. I don't know what to call the move, but hey. The Viper's backstage, the female wrestler, Viper backstage, has a bit of a problem with the vending machine and goes to smash it until DCT stops and gets what she wanted for her, and then asks her out on a date and accepts a date and basically forces her. It's just stupid. Joe is still pissed and says he has the answers, and his answer will be to be the ICW heavyweight champion. Now for the 6-man tag. Noam Dar came out to be Grado's tag team partner, but we didn't know who the third guy would be, so it was a 3-on-2 handicap match. And this match was basically Grado and Dar ended up using Kirby at one point as a punching bag, and then double chokeslam Kirby. Yes, you heard me correct. But this whole match was basically the 55s match, because the 55 did nothing, and I repeat, nothing but beat down Grado. They just beat the piss out of Grado. Dominated Grado, isolated him from Noam Dar. Grado at one point hit the rolling slice as well on Kirby, and Grado hits the rock bottom. Then Wolfgang comes out to even it up, cleans house, but the 55 proved to be dominant, and then Grado seemed to be getting some sort of a comeback and doing his brilliant Dusty Rose impersonation on all three members of the 55. That was until James R. Kennedy hits him with a pipe, and then Kid Fight gets the victory. And then the dominance began. Wolfgang tied to the ropes with electric tape, and just basically, and I mean basically, just beating the piss out of all three of them, 55 and the 55, proving that they were dominant. And they were in control of Grado Mania. I liked it. Was it as good as last week? I liked the show. Was it as good as last week? No. I think it was even. So I would say 4 out of 5 for that. It was an even match as well. Oh, and by the way, you can see their matches. There's a show that they just put up on ICW's on-demand service as well. You can see the whole matches on there besides the 2 shows, because that's the only way you're going to get to see them. And that's ICW on demand. £3.85 a month, equivalent of £6, $5.99 in America. And guys, if you haven't got ICW's on demand, you're missing out. And by the way, say yes, Madonna. End this quick. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the ICW review and main points. I'll be back after this with what I do best, ladies and gentlemen. Quick reviews and opinions in the world of professional wrestling, as well as some promotions as well if I need be. So stay tuned, I'll be back after this.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kenny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Right, you lovely people, welcome back to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Now I'm going to talk about a few things in the world of professional wrestling. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you so much for your support on the on the podcast. I've got something in the pipelines lined up. March 16th, as you probably have heard as well, March 16th is the 50th episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now, there's something huge that I'm looking to do in the pipeline. I will sort it out this week for you, and hopefully it will be done and dusted. But I'm going to do something that's never been done. History will be made on the 50th episode of the podcast, knock on wood. But I'm looking to do something that's never been done before for the 50th episode. What that is, we'll have to wait and see. But I will keep you posted on that in due time. Now, just a few things to talk about. Apparently, last week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon got into a heated discussion about negotiations, and it got a little out of control to a point where Brock Lesnar walked out of Monday Night Raw and finds him and ends up being at a UFC 184 event. And there was all this thing. Apparently, it got heated over negotiations and that, and about contracts, I think, and wasn't pretty from what I heard or read. And it got to a point also where he ends up being at the UFC show. Now, what I don't like is I saw something, I heard somebody talk about this on YouTube. He does his own show, he does his own shit, and he says how much he hates what Brock Lesnar's doing and that to the WWE. I disagree, fam. I think that Brock Lesnar, the way he's been brought in is awesome, because it makes you want to see him beat the shit out of somebody. And the only reason at the end of the day he's not doing UFC is because UFC, he had an illness which basically cost him his career, but apparently he's had a clean bit of health now, and he's back to right reign and everything. I don't know where his future's going to be, but he will be. There was a lot of questions also that he'd be asked that he was going to be at WrestleMania, whether or not he was going to be at WrestleMania, and they'd have to change things around. I mean, the guy who I heard the other day, just last night, in fact, he was going, just have him drop the title and then have a tournament at WrestleMania to determine who the champion is or something. Dude, this is not 1980s. This is not WrestleMania 4. Okay. At the end of the day, I like the way Brock Lesnar's being used, and at the end of the day, if Vince is not, why is Vince doing these contract negotiations? I know he's the chairman, but wouldn't Triple H that sorted all this out before and all? Maybe you should get Triple H to do it, Get Triple H to sort the contract negotiations out if this is going to be an issue all the time. But anyway, all I know is this: nothing's going to change, and he's going to be at WrestleMania. So it's a done deal. And if it's been also said that if he wasn't going to do WrestleMania, that WWE would sue him for breach of contract. Okay, WWE have announced another 2015 Hall of Fame announcement will be made on tomorrow night's Raw from New Jersey. Now, I don't know, I would guess that was already been. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Thank you so much for checking this podcast out and supporting the podcast the way you've done. I really do appreciate it. I'm taking it to the next level. I've already got things lined up in the pipeline, which is going to help me elevate this podcast to a point where I am making, what I want to do out of it, and taking it to the levels that I want it to go. And without your support, guys, it's nothing, and I love you guys for it. Facebook.com/WM Podcast, at Tony_Walker on Twitter, at WM Podcast on Twitter, YouTube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters, and theheadanthonywalker.weebly.com, although that will be subject to change very, very soon, because I've got I'm working on something for that site as well, to make it the best site that I can be, and I just want to make this podcast the best podcast that it can be, and I hope you guys enjoy it more. It's going to be on Podomatic this week. I've sorted a few things out, and it'll be on Podomatic. This episode of the podcast will be on Podomatic by the end of the week, and also as well Mixcloud. I'm going to put it on Mixcloud, so be sure to check that out. Like I said, go on to Twitter, Tony_Walker on Twitter, WM Podcast on Twitter, and Facebook.com/WM Podcast as well. I will put them up as well. And check out iTunes as well, and Stitcher Radio. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Walker, the H, the E, the A, the D. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to be on the show, hook me up on Twitter, hook me up on Facebook as well, Facebook.com/WM Podcast, at WM Podcast on Twitter, and at Tony_Walker on Twitter. You have a voice, come on the show, and you could speak it on the show, baby. Until next time, though, my name is the Head Anthony Walker. Peace out.